All right. Hello, Virgo. I hope your day is getting off to a great start, or your evening, depending on where you're watching me. Lots of love here on Valentine's Day if you're watching live from Apollo. And from me, we're going to have a really great reading today, focusing on all of the energy coming through for the next 6 to 8 weeks. If it's your first time here, let me just give you a run through on what's coming through. Right below Apollo's face here, you'll see the format. I always start with channeled messages at the beginning, the Celtic Cross afterwards. We expand it to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. The big idea, blessings and blocks. We do a viewer's choice, and then after that, we will meditate and look at your final question. I hope everybody's doing great, and I got some really beautiful messages coming through on growth, abundance, and also kind of like releasing parts of your past. So I'm going to try to help you with all of that today. Again, one little last goodbye here from Apollo, who just woke up and wanted to say hi and give you some puppy kisses. All right, I'm going to put him down so he can enjoy his nap again. Good boy. It's a good boy. I know. So it's been a while since he's popped up and said hi to everybody. All right, my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. We're going to be looking at energy for the sign of Virgo. As you can see right here, it can be used for your sun, rising, moon, and Venus. Really any aspect of your chart, depending on how well versed you are with all of your placements. You're always welcome to watch your primary placements or anything. If you just want to show up, the way that I work is because I'm an intuitive and clairvoyant, and I work with dream interpretation. A lot of information will come through for anybody that shows up. But of course, I am fine-tuning this for Virgo, so welcome, Virgo. It's good to have you here. Last night, what came through primarily in my dreams was, again, this opportunity to kind of hit a reset switch. So in just a moment, when I start to look at your channeled messages, I'm going to try to help you hit the reset switch. I think it's really important. Okay, a couple of quick notes before we go there. First of all, if it's your first time visiting, I welcome you. It's really good to have you. Also, if you enjoy what you see here, a great way to make sure that the algorithm serves you up again, the content here, is to hit the subscribe button. I like to remind folks that it's the equivalent of simply hitting follow on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter. Named differently, but it doesn't mean that you have to do anything. It's just helpful to the channel. Also, if you could hit like once during the video, that also helps with discovery. In addition to subscribing, if you want more notifications, sometimes the Google/YouTube ones don't show up. So if you follow me across social media, you'll get a reminder, especially on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where I put story reminders all the time. So please do that if you would like to. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh on all social media platforms except Twitter. And just a quick reminder that if anyone ever reaches out or asks for something or says they have a second account or something, it's not me. And also, I don't offer any private readings any longer. So if someone's offering that, that's not me either. So just a couple of safety tips to keep you in the right place out there. If you'd like to show love and support, you can also do that by clicking on the Super Chat Super Sticker icon here, where you can also become a member if you'd like. There's also Patreon if you prefer that. Great ways to give back. I'm actually going to continue to use a deck that I used on the weekend here. This is one of the new ones that I purchased, which is Star Seeker. So we'll be using this one today. And this was one that came highly recommended, and I love it, actually. So I'm going to be taking a look at some of your recommendations and adding to that this week. So thank you so much for your support. If you like information on my schedule, you can get it here. Okay? So with all of that being said, let's talk about your channeled messages for this month. I'll set up the slideshow and then start talking about what came through. All right, here we go. So in dreams and meditations, I was very clearly shown a plant that I used to grow as a kid, and I don't have it in my current house, but this is one of the easiest plants for a novice gardener to grow, and it's called a spider plant. And the other thing that came through was kind of an image or two of the Akashic records, and we'll talk about the importance of why maybe an Akashic record image was coming through for you. First things first, spider plant. So I can't always show images unless they're public domain. This one was, and it's from the Wikipedia article, so just giving credit where credit's due. You can see in the corner there that little offshoot. Usually, if you just do a Google for spider plants, you'll see that there's much more with the sort of plantlets, I guess is the correct term, but all the little spiders that come off of this, a lot of times you'll see a dozen or a few dozen, and sometimes it's even bigger than the plant itself. This is a very easy to propagate sort of houseplant, and I believe it was native to Africa, Southern Africa. It says it there right in the Wikipedia article. So it does grow in nature, and sometimes here in Southern California, you'll see it as a hedge. But generally, it's a houseplant, and it's a very abundant sort of houseplant too. Easy to take care of, showing a lot of growth. So I also like this Ace card that comes from the Lightseers Tarot because it shows the importance of the Ace of Pentacles, which a lot of times is a seed or an idea, which of course takes time and energy in order to see growth and movement. A lot of times we just want this instantaneous sort of gratification. And this is a reminder that anything that really is worth accomplishing or worth receiving does take an investment. And so even with something as easy as this totem that came through for you, the spider plant, it still does require water and light. There is something that you have to put out there to get something back. All right, so let's talk about how I visualized it. So I saw myself in a sort of science lab. For those of you that might have taken something like chemistry or whatever when you were in high school and you had to partner up with a lab partner, that's very much what it felt like to me. I saw that there was all these sort of, it was like we were outside. There was these mounds of dirt, and different people were trying to propagate the plants in different ways. And I noticed that the only reason that this particular plant wouldn't grow is because of neglect or not listening to instructions or trying to put it too far in the ground or something like that. Because again, it's a no-brainer. You can just stick it in a pot, water it, and it starts to root and grow. It's like really easy to grow. So for your group, what I noticed was the 2 other lab partners, it was in groups of 3, they were missing. They just stopped coming. But your plants were growing nonetheless, and you were taking care of them and you were planting them. And I saw someone coming over, kind of like the 3 of Pentacles. It's another card that I could have put in the slide, where they were going to give you recognition. And that really is what the 3 of Pentacles can be, is recognition for a job well done. Some of you have been waiting for the right connection to come through. Maybe you've been job seeking. Maybe you've been looking for the right kind of partner or friend in your life. And it's just sort of someone that recognizes the traits that you have. Keep working on yourself. Keep developing it, because this Ace will give way to the 3 of Pentacles in the near future here. So these little baby plants are coming through. These little opportunities are coming through. It could be 3 months of productive and abundant time. It could also be 3 individual opportunities that you could weigh out. Not all were equal. I noticed one that had a lot more roots, a lot more leaves. So you want to be discerning and look at the health and the opportunity and the longevity of any decision that you're going to make or take here, okay? Remembering again to plant and feed your dreams. They will eventually come to fruition. So this all reminds me of the green thumb or Midas touch. Use whatever kind of analogy you want to. And if I were to pick a card in tarot that would be associated with that, it's the Queen of Pentacles. I love the Queen of Wands, but the Queen of Pentacles can mend, she can nurture, she can even like revive or resuscitate something. She just has that, and I love that we see her here in nature, completely at ease and completely connected, and her little antenna connecting to higher sort of like inspiration. So you need to be calm and at ease and sort of just really focus on one thing, and it will start to flow through. I've noticed in my life that people that have a heart, and this is not a universal sort of truth, but I've noticed more often than not people that can't grow a plant. Sometimes it does boil down to how open they are to this experience and how open-hearted they are. So a lot of times when we have a blockage in our heart, because it's the color green, that's the rose, and can still be a part of the heart chakra, but it's really green, kind of like this first stripe here. When that's shut down, it's kind of hard for us to also love something else and see growth there. So if you're having trouble growing plants, there could be a blockage in your heart chakra, and it is something you can heal. And I believe everybody can find a way to take care of a plant, but it does require not overdoing things and not underdoing things. I've gotten to the point where I enjoy taking care of really difficult plants, and I'm going to show you an example here of one that someone left with me. They had taken a big cutting of it, taking 3/4 of the plant off. There was a couple of leaves, but they died. But I just kept watering it and caring for it because I had a feeling it wasn't dead. So I'm going to show you this plant. And this is why you don't give up. So I was almost ready to email them and say, you know what, I'm pretty good at this stuff, but it's not working. Something happened. And lo and behold, just about a day ago, let's see if I can get this to focus on it. There we go. We have this new sort of sprout coming out. So even though we cut off 3/4 of the plant, all of a sudden it's coming back to life. And that's because I haven't given up on it. And I was like, no, I'm not ready to send that note just yet. So one thing that I do sometimes with my plants is they are energy and they are receptive. And I kind of just put that sort of thought there. Now, come on, you can do this. And I put a little bit of my energy in it too. And I said, come on, let's grow. So you can work as a healer. Like, that is a way that you can actually do it. So the Midas touch, or the green thumb, part of it is because you're channeling the energy through you. So when you work with the soil, when you work with the plants, you actually can infuse some of your energy into them. So I revived that. I used my inner Queen of Pentacles energy and said, not today, not yet. You still have some life to live. So for you, in any given project in your life, in any given relationship, you can also put your heart into it and see if you can revive it like that, all right? So that is very much like judgment as well. It was a second life, or like 9 lives of a cat. It's coming back. And there isn't much there. It was just a stem for about 2 weeks. And I kept thinking, no, it's still green. I gave it a little tug. I could feel the roots, and I thought, let's give it a chance. It's just like the trees in winter. They look dead, and if it was your first time on the planet, you would not understand that those trees can bloom and grow new leaves and new, shoots and all of that. You just have to have faith, okay? So use your capacity to nurture and revive something if you want to. And I wasn't going to give up until that thing was brown and dead. So I knew that there was still a chance. So remember, growth can be subtle and very, very slow. The person that took the cutting on this one, they went too far. They should have left probably 2 or 3 inches more, a few more leaves, because it put the plant in shock is what happened. And so now all of its energy is going into building a new root system, and it's trying to build leaves, but a lot of times it'll build a leaf and then the other one has to die for another one to come up. It'll eventually come out of shock, but it's in shock. So you may have someone or something in your life that's kind of coming through that shock as well. And I thought that real life example would show you why you don't want to give up until you truly see that it's over, okay? Taking the first step is another part of the message that came through with this plant metaphor. The plants that I was showing you, not necessarily this one, but the spider plants, they're virtually impossible to kill and really easy to propagate. There's another plant that you might see out there. I think it's called like the snake plant or something like that, mother-in-law plant. You can basically cut it and just root it in water. This one you can do the same thing with it. When I say this one, it's this one. So you could take one of those little spider cutlets or plantlets rather, and put it in water, and it could actually grow in there for a year or two. But at a certain point, it's going to need soil. But the fact is that these plants can actually just exist in water. They're that resistant. So all you need to do, I feel, in your life right now is to put a little bit of an investment in something that may have withered, may not be going where you want it to. You're going to see a return on that. Take the first step and try. That's why we have the Fool here. Networking is going to be super important, because the one thing that I would associate with the spider plant, not just the spider, which we're not really covering today, it's more the networking, the reaching out, the propagation, the root of it as well. So put down some roots in your life, and that could be, maybe you've moved a lot and you're getting used to moving, and it's like, well, I'm not going to get too comfortable here. But if you never get too comfortable in any one place, how will you know how much you can grow? So I think there's an opportunity to put some energy, time, and investment to put down the virtual roots into something so that you can see growth. That it's going to require time, energy, and your direct attention. Some of you may just be juggling a lot of things, and we'll talk about that in a moment. There may be someone in your life. It could be your boss, it could be your partner, it could just be a friend that wants to know, where do you stand? Are you going to stick around? Is this a short-term sort of thing? What am I going to get out of this sort of exchange? And so that could be a talk about exclusivity. Like if you're dating someone, maybe it's going to get serious. It could be an opportunity to get hired if you're freelancing. So there's a lot of cool things that could be coming out of this. But what you have to decide is, do I want to put my roots down here? And that's a personal decision. But when we look at the cards, I'm sure you will get some additional context on that, and that will help you out. All right. Akashic Records. So I kind of put this a few slides forward, but I saw you looking around in a library for something that was lost. And I quickly realized when I woke up that this was Akashic Records. So what are they? First and foremost, the Akashic Records are a compendium of universal events, thoughts, words, and emotions, and intent, which have ever occurred in any galaxy and with anybody, like living or dead, and anything, human or not human. It's basically like if there was a history book for all that had ever happened in the known and unknown universe. This is it. But it's an energetic one. It's like in the sky. There's no actual book. If you go to the library, you may be taking out a book, but it's more sort of symbolic of the data that's stored there. Kind of abstract, but just think about it as a record-keeping place where all of your soul's lifetimes are stored. So you can kind of get a download if you are able to access it or work with someone who's able to access the Akashic Records. The most important thing that they can teach us is that unless a lesson is learned, history repeats itself. I put a quote here from Battlestar Galactica because it's pretty spot on with what would be the Akashic Records. All this has happened before and it will happen again. But, ... what I would add to that is unless you learn, unless you sort of shift, history is a persistent and perseverant teacher. It will keep coming through until we figure it out. So we're not destined to do it forever. We're just destined to do it until we remember and kind of like integrate the lesson and change. So you have an opportunity this month. A cycle change could happen for you. So in tarot, in addition to judgment, it could also be the Eight of Cups. I only have so much room on each slide. But between the Eight of Cups and judgment is where you stand. There's a persistent cycle, one that could repeat itself unless you come through and say, I'm a changed person. So the cycle can be a lot of different things. For me, I was in a cycle for career for a while. I had like 3 or 4 different jobs that were just the same thing, the same title at different companies. And probably like a good 10 years before I decided to quit and then start what I'm doing here, I met a nutritionist who actually said, why do you keep doing the same thing and expecting like different outcomes? You're not happy. You should try something completely different. But I was kind of in a panic state because I was much younger at that point, and I thought, but I need the money. And honestly, if I could go back in time and be in a chorus with her, I would say, listen to her. Everything could change if you do this. So you're never too young and you're never too old to make a cycle change. I was ready in 2015. I wasn't ready in like 2009 or 2006, actually, the first time that I kind of had these opportunities. But what I was noticing, it was every I would say every 5 to 7 years, there was a career shift and the universe kept saying, are you sure you want to stay here? And they would make it really uncomfortable. The last time it was so uncomfortable that I had to leave. So it got progressively worse. And had I stayed past that, it probably would have become a tower moment. So I'm glad that I avoided the tower. But if you're getting hints, if things are like diminishing returns, this is the time to break the cycle. And even if you can't read your Akashic Records, you can read your intuition. You can read the signs around you. So you don't need to access the Akashic Records in order to feel and integrate them. They're there in a subtle form. So don't worry, you don't have to go out and pay to get a reading. Just really tune in and think to yourself, how is this feeling? Do I want this job? Do I want to stay in this relationship? Is this friendship worth it? What does it remind me of? Is it changing what I've experienced before? Okay? So basically, like I put in the last paragraph there, you're being called to try something new. Your soul knows that it can do it, but internal doubt or disbelief or external distraction, because you're so busy, all of these things could be getting in the way of the next big thing, okay? So take some time for yourself. Take some time to plan and reflect, then act. What I used to do when I was much younger was just keep pushing forward. It was kind of like, I'll figure the rest out later. So a quick decision and then no real time to sort of make sure that that decision was sound. So if you find yourself in this perpetual whirlwind of activity, create some space, create some time, make time basically, and reflect. Reflect on what you're doing, what you like or don't like about it, what you've been doing, and how you see progress or a lack of progress there. Only when you truly plan a little bit, and I didn't have time to put the image here, but it would be the Two of Wands, but only when you have time to truly plan can you be the most effective at manifesting. So I want you to be highly effective this month. Really know what it is you want. Don't just sort of like randomly throw your hat in for consideration for something that's not worth it. Really put your heart and soul into it. And then the most important thing here, I believe this is the last card, is it feels like you're ready to say goodbye to something. File something under the category of done. So this is what I was talking about. In my dreams, you were in the library, you were looking for something. It was under the history sort of area of the library, but you couldn't find it, and you didn't know also where to kind of file something else. So I feel like you're sort of internally perhaps struggling with, am I finished with something? Am I ready to start something new? You could be between the world and the fool. So I had the fool energy here already, but you have to go through the graduation energy of judgment, the world, and then the fool. Judgment deciding that you're ready for it, the world expanding and stepping into the unknown, and then the fool just saying, all right, let's see where this goes. I'm excited. So I feel like that's really what's availing itself to you. The question is, are you ready? If you're afraid, why are you afraid? What can you do to kind of like release and open up a little bit? Okay. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you out here. And there's some people even in chat that are opening up with limited sort of thoughts when, like, rather than focusing on things that you can't have, focus on things that you can. Focus on things that you can accomplish, on areas that you can be productive. If there are legitimate reasons that it's like you may want to float through the air, but until we learn to connect with telekinesis and things like that, that's not going to happen just yet. But you can find other ways to travel to see things from another perspective. I would say kind of like reset your expectations. So if you want something you can't get, also look at why the universe is saying you can't have it. And look and see, is there internal work that I need to do? Do I need to release something else? Take time to think it through. The cards here are going to help us out with some of those blocks, but some of the blocks, you might be focusing on the wrong thing, and it's going to be hard to manifest if you keep focusing on limits. So I'm going to caution you when it comes to limits. Focus on what you can do and focus on exploring different ways to solve the problem. We always have had mathematicians, scientists, inventors, research and development folks that their whole purpose on is doing the impossible, right? So it's only impossible if you think it is. So keep thinking of different ways. I would say open your mind a little bit. All right. On to the Celtic Cross. We're going to take a look at the next 6 to 8 weeks. Although this is titled March, a lot of what we're going to see in the past and recent past is going to be right here and now. And a lot of the energy is important for you to understand like where we're going in order for you to be effective in the here and the now. Okay? So always about free will. You get to decide what you want to do and how you're going to react to it. So keep an open mind as we take a look at everything here. Again, I'm using a new deck of cards that you suggested. It is Star Seeker Tarot. You can find a link on my website for that. And I'm going to be doing some shopping this week and looking at some of the other decks that you guys suggested. So thank you for the super stickers, super chat, and all the suggestions. I appreciate your contributions. There's that Three of Pentacles right at the center. What I said was coming through for recognition. Okay. And we got the Fool too, so I love it when there's some synchronicities here. Looking great so far. I've been seeing a lot of the Wheel of Fortune showing up as well, so interesting energies availing themselves again to the month ahead. All right. And very interesting that right at the end here, we actually have one called the shadow, which is one thing that I was trying to help all of you overcome, was that shadow or that block. I can't do it. It won't happen. What happens if I can't do it? We're going to get out of that block, because it really is a mental block sometimes. What if I can't have it? What if they say no? What if? What if the opposite is true? What if they say yes? What if you do succeed? This is what I'll use the example of the Olympics, which admittedly I'm not watching as much as I used to. But one thing that I like about the Olympics is they sometimes will tell the story of an athlete where, they came up against insurmountable odds or seemingly insurmountable odds, but practice and hard work and maybe a few injuries or setbacks, no matter what, they kept pushing to get on that podium, and they eventually do. So persistence is key. I think it's good to be realistic, but I also think that sometimes we have to see past what's probable and see what's possible, and keep trying. You never know. All right, we have the Mentor card in reverse. Let's look at the upright symbol here. We have beautiful owl here, which reminds me of the energy of Athena. Knowledge, which is why we were talking about the Akashic records. And with this card in reverse, some of you may be feeling like you might be in a place in your life where you're the mentor, or the person that you always leaned on may no longer be on the planet or may not be available. So this card is showing you that the inner knowledge, the soul knowledge, your life experience, it's enough. It's enough to make that decision. It's enough to step into the new space. So you may be seeking the mentor when in fact you are your own mentor. You have the capacity within to lead, to light the way, to embark on this new journey. And we see this kind of cosmic energy here as it's almost flying through space. So for some of you, there could also be that feeling of free falling, or feeling a little bit like, topsy-turvy. It's like the World card in reverse. Where am I at? What's next? Where am I going to put my roots down a little bit? So I do think it's important to decide how and where and when you want to kind of spend your time and energy, and that's going to help you out. But you may be seeking out advice. So if you are finding yourself at a bit of a crossroads, uncertain of what's next, by all means, ask for some advice if you need it. The thing is, again, I feel like internally you have a good instinct. Call it your gut instinct, call it your intuition. But whatever it is, it's giving you what you need to know that, yeah, I can do this. Yes, this is the right next phase. So I would say for you, you're probably more than anything going to get some confirmation or affirmation on your decided upon path there. So get that confirmation if you need it. And at the end of the day, follow your heart. Okay? Most important piece. Let's take a look at your center card today. So we have the Three of Pentacles smack dab in the center. And what's really cool, I'm going to pull this up in a second here, but the pentacle is split into three. It's basically an ace split into three. So let's look at this card. It's beautiful. Some of you may have splintered yourselves a little bit. What do I mean by this? I mean that in the kind of like pursuit of approval, because the approval on this one can cut both ways. It can be the approval that you receive, or the approval that you are hoping to receive. So for those of you that have been hoping to receive approval from mom, dad, boss, friend, etc., there could be something in your life where that just wasn't given. And what you did was you decided to give away some of your time and energy in pursuit of that for some sort of like a path, like work. Mom and dad wanted you to do something and you thought that would get their approval, but it wasn't enough. They still want more. Your partner wished that you would change this aspect of your life or your personality, so you did that and you offered it up and it still wasn't enough. Society wants you to do this so that you meet their standards, and at the end of the day, you feel like it's still not enough. So what you're doing here is kind of like trying to serve the wrong people. You should be sort of serving your higher calling and really put your love and energy into something that fulfills, opens up that heart space, really makes you feel alive. When you reclaim those lost pieces, because they're not truly lost, when we give away power or energy, we do it so oftentimes willingly. So in this particular situation, what you can do is to reclaim those lost pieces of yourself and come back with an ace, which I had seen in Channeled Messages. And you're going to be able to do so much more because you're 100% invested in yourself. I think what happens when we do something for someone else, solely for someone else, not in the act of service, which is showing up in your wealth area here, actually, but service in reverse. So it's not for you, it's in service of others, and service where it's not making maybe anybody happy, then you're not going to be as successful when you do that. Basically, you should be fully invested. You should see a return on this. It should be something that your heart and soul is feeling. So you have a chance this month to break a cycle of, let's just call it an investment that doesn't have a return. And it could be someone in your life that just is conditionally loving you. I love you as long as you do this. It's okay for you to be my friend as long as you do this, this, and this, or you don't say this. I recently had an experience with some people in my life where we were only allowed to say and do certain things. Basically, that's a sign that the relationship is broken. If you can't be yourself, if you can't talk to someone openly, they have so many conditions on something. They're not really wanting to see the true you, okay? So I want you to go and find a place where you can be whole. This is about being whole. And for some of you, if it's work, for instance, maybe they only allowed you to be like that part of your being, or a couple of your tools in the tool shed, but not everything. So go to a place where they truly celebrate all that you are and then reward you in kind for all that you are. Typically, Three of Pentacles is a very, very good card because it shows that you're going to receive that sort of recognition. But this one shows the double-edged sword even in its upright position. But the cool thing is you're going to reclaim this and then get the recognition, and it's going to mean something more because your heart's truly in it, okay? For those of you that might be considering to go back to school right now, this is a good card for that. This definitely supports any sort of educational endeavors. If you're looking to publish or finish something, this also is spot on with that. It's about making sure that you put 100% in, you'll get that return as well, all right? Really great card. Really cool illustration. I do love the person that created this deck. I believe her name is Nikki. Nikki did a great job. So really cool interpretations. And again, she's an Etsy artist. So if you want to get this deck, you can support an indie artist. It's cool. All right, looking at what's crossing it. We got the Queen of Wands on top of it. So Queen of Wands card is telling you to manage your affairs, to focus on reclaiming your power, to really focus on, to me, it's almost like a conductor, right? Almost like Mickey and Fantasia. But she's going to work her magic. She's going to focus on believing in the magic and believing in the capacity for things to change. And just like the green thumb on the Queen of Pentacles, the mind is kind of the strong thing in the Queen of Wands. So her belief is what's the sort of connective thread or the magnetic energy behind manifestation. So believe that you can do it, believe that you can reclaim it, believe that you are worth it, believe that this can happen. She comes through to say, yes, you can, yes, it will, yes, we're going to make this happen, okay? So you have the capacity to be the boss, to bring things together. And I do believe that for many of you, if you're looking for like the next big thing in your life, it is about deciding to be accountable and be in the lead for something. So if you are constantly being told what to do, yet you already know what to do and you've probably already done it, maybe this is the time to step up and be in more of a management position. Maybe it's the time to do your own business. Maybe it's the time to go to a place where people can just empower you as well. So there is definitely some opportunities for that internal growth, that internal recognition to take place, okay? In the deep past, we see Queen of Swords energy coming through. So it feels like you've already learned the lesson of using your voice and speaking up. A lot of times that's the hardest thing to do, but I would say one thing that the universe really wants you to focus on is not to let anyone put the sort of like clamp on your communication skills. Only when we are truly allowed to, again, express ourselves can we do something amazing. So that example of whether it's a boss or a friend or a family member that says you can't talk about this, you can't do this. Silence doesn't heal. Silence just, we were talking about the plant growing. So things like fear, anxiety, anger, all of that, it grows underneath the veil of silence. So what you're going to come through, she looks very strong, this Queen of Swords. You'll come through with that sword, which is going to be action and proactive action, I should say, and also constructive criticism. Nothing cruel, It's very constructive, it's very strong, and just say no, or we're going to talk about this, or I know this is difficult, and just clear through that fog, that veil, that sort of curtain of silence. And too many times in my own life, I've allowed other people to silence me or seen people around me that I love that have been silenced. I won't do that anymore. So I'm with this Queen of Swords. Stand behind what's important and say, no, we're going to talk about this. Sorry it makes you uncomfortable. If we don't talk about it, it'll get worse. So if somebody shuts you down or shuts you out, though, and you try, that's all you can do sometimes. Focus instead on something else. They're not worth the investment. If they've closed and locked the door, it's a clear sign from the universe that you can do better. So know that there are some limits to how far you can put the Queen of Swords energy in there. If someone puts cotton in their ears and blindfolds around their eyes, think of like 2 of Swords or 8 of Swords, they're just not going to be open to it. Wait until they are. You've already done the work. You've already learned that lesson. They may not have. So if they haven't done it, then that's their lesson to learn in their own time. And you got better things to focus on. In the recent past here, we have 6 of Cups. Friendship, healing some of those wounds with friends and family, it's possible. But what I'm seeing here for some of you could be a deeper love that's recently come into your life, or if you're watching this like a month ahead, it's about to come into your life. So I see a nice partnership on the horizon for many of you because it's coming through in recent past, and this is a future reading. It's soon. I think you should be focusing on the networking. This is what I was talking about. We see all those beautiful little flowers at the bottom here. To me, they look like dandelions. Yeah. Those are little dandelions at the bottom there, and they're ready to take seed and take flight. So for many of you, there is this sort of promise of growth. And for those of us here in the Northern Hemisphere where it's winter, this is a cool card. It's showing us springtime energy, summertime energy, and it's bringing forth that sort of thought of renewal. So for some of you, I said it's about 3 months out. So March, April, May, maybe June, and this would be attached to the month of June. So I like that. So there's some good stuff on the horizon. Don't lose track. Take the next 3 months, plant the seeds, and really trust that recognition is going to come through. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead now and take a look at your crowning card here. So I was just talking about cotton in the ears or blindfolds, and we definitely have that with the 8 of Swords. So for some of you, someone might be trying to put you back in the box or in the cage here. Oftentimes I associate this with like a caged bird. You can kind of see the cage forming around this particular character here. So you have an opportunity to say no, because you don't have to sort of sit there and let someone pin you in. They do it sometimes because we can be polite and not say, no, this doesn't work for me. Or they're hoping that you'll just ignore what's going on. There's a chance for you to raise your hand and say, no, I don't agree with this. And this is symbolic. It doesn't mean that someone's literally kind of like trapping you or painting you in the corner. It means that they're hoping that things will just go unnoticed a lot of times. So you're going to nod and say, I know that you're uncomfortable looking at this, but this is something that has to be dealt with. So just take the blindfolds off, step outside of this prison. There's never a roof on it typically. You can always get out of it in the 8 of Swords here. So just kind of like take this off, navigate around, and find a better path or a better person to work with. There is a better way. So as a wayfinding card, this is saying there's a better path, there's a better person to talk to. This person or this way seems limited, and you want to work more in an expansive sort of energy, okay? So near future has the Moon card. The Moon card is really a nice expansion and a nice extension of what we just talked about. So oftentimes with this, you have to look at what makes you feel uncertain or uncomfortable. So this is saying, I'm not afraid to go into the depths of that water. Instead of the 2 different dogs, the dog and the wolf here, we have the 2 different trees. Standing at 2 opposite ends of the path and basically saying, there's sometimes not a wrong way, there's just 2 very different opportunities. To me, if I were to look at the 2 options and we look at a wolf and a dog, the wolf very much follows instinct and can sometimes be fight or flight, can be a little bit too panicky or too reactionary. The dog rather is going to focus on what has worked and has intelligence as well. There's probably a happy medium between the 2, which is why the path is between it. I've never really talked about that with the Moon card, but the lack of the dog and the wolf is making me think about that as my little wolf dog comes in the background. So I would say the key to success this month is to not be afraid to talk about what inspires you, to try to kind of use a combination of practical and intuitive guidance to bring you onto your own path, which might deviate from the main path here, okay? So it's maybe not about a polarized right or wrong, or all by the books or all intuitive. It's a blending of the two. And compromise and the middle road or the middle ground is what's going to help you out this month. But it may mean that your path, again, is a little bit different than the main path, than the mainstream. Let's look at what's going on in your sort of person here, how people are looking at you. We have a card of success here. And I read last week with this one, and it's good to see it come back here. The card is reversed. But let's look at it upright. We have this particular person writing on the Six of Wands as if this was a broomstick, right? So deciding like, I need to kind of get away from the pressure that my family, that my coworkers, that people around me have been putting on me. I've been doing so much, and it really does nicely connect with the Three of Pentacles at the center, which is, how many pieces of myself do I have to give away to appease? So here's the thing. You're good at what you do. You have the capacity to create amazing things. Lots of Wands energy coming through for you. But with this card, you have to decide, is this my direction? Is this my way? Does this feel right to me? And am I losing something by putting so much energy into pleasing others? Does it kind of just turn me inside out or upside down? So you don't have to succumb to peer pressure with the Six of Wands. Do what is right for you. Do what is right for the general public if you're in a position of power or leadership. And by doing what's right, things will work out. You may not get the support and the approval of everyone, but here's an interesting thing. When you look back in the history books, since we have the Akashic records coming through today, public opinion, the court of public opinion sways over time. History usually gives a nicer lens to what's going on, though. So if someone did something that was unpopular but absolutely the right thing, over time that gets recognized as, oh yeah, this made sense. Oftentimes works of art that are progressive, that are out of the mainstream, they may get mixed reviews initially. A lot of times this happens with music, but also movies. But then over time, the ratings change, and the people that gave those ratings will feel like a fool because they just missed the big picture. They missed that sort of cultural shift, that moment in time where someone was saying, no, this is not the way, this is the way. So you might be leading your own sort of niche pack into a different direction. So I'm really encouraging individuality this month for you, Virgo, and I know you can do it. So focus on being the leader, not the follower. And that's what the Six of Wands in reverse is saying. People see you as the leader. You might be used to taking commands from someone else or taking direction from someone else. But this month, you're the one that is in the lead. You're the one that's setting the tone. You're the one that others might be following. You could find yourself in that uneasy situation of, oh my God, how did I do this? It's just because you're doing the right thing. So keep doing the right thing. Okay? All right. So let's take a look at what's going on around you. We have a beautiful sort of energy coming through here as I'm looking at the environment. So we have the Wheel of Fortune coming through. It's very cool that I had the spider web energy that we talked about earlier. Not the spider web, but the spider plant. Because here we have the spider web. And so we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. And I talked a little bit about this the last time that I brought this sort of energy into the reading, but with this web, with the cosmic web here, the important thing for you to realize is that you have the capacity to pull things in and also clean things out. We did a little cord cutting on the last reading that I did using this metaphor, but sometimes we get caught up in other people's web. So with this being in your environment, I think the most important thing for you to focus on is staying your course, even if it's contrary to the main stream or the main road, reclaiming and refocusing on what you want to do, and then getting sort of untangled from other people's nonsense. This could be their family drama, this could be their emotional drama, this could be their sort of things that they're working on, and you constantly sort of get all of this thrown on you. And it's almost like you're that web catching and holding on to these things and worrying about them. Even now, when you're supposed to be focusing on the reading, you're worrying about someone, and it doesn't matter. So instead of doing that, we're going to focus on building your own network, your own web, and creating and attracting something amazing. Because you have the capacity here in the environment to tap into some resources. You have the capacity to spin your own threads of fate, which is what I talked about in the last reading. So I would say for you, what are you doing to create, to actively create something that is going to help you? It could be a safety net. It could be your plan B if this job doesn't work out. It could be your future sort of dream. What are you doing to kind of actively spin that web of possibilities? Because with the Ten of Pentacles here, the Wheel of Fortune in the environment, that's there. The Ten of Pentacles came to mind though, so it could be a lot closer than you think. It could be a friend or a family member that has that connection for you. If you're looking for work, it could be coming from someone really, really close to you with the Six of Cups. The other thing that's important for you with respect to like money and opportunity is it's your charm, your ability to just sort of like turn on the charisma that's really going to sort of seal the deal for you and make something happen. Okay? All right. So the next piece that I want to focus on for you is the what's coming through here in hopes, fears, and opportunities. So we have the Knight of Wands. So we have a queen and a knight. I'm sorry, this is the king. Put your glasses back on, Nicholas. King of Wands. King of Wands is great, actually. So we're focusing here on some relationship energy for many of you, and you're watching on Valentine's Day. So this is a good card to come through. I would say for many of you, what's going on though is there's someone in your life that could tend to be a little bit closed-minded, could tend to be a little bit bossy or very sort of focused on doing one thing in one way. And so we're going to get into relationships when I expand the forecast, but there's one message coming through right now, which is you're going to have to probably find that middle ground of making trying to help them open up a little bit or see it from another perspective. Sometimes someone who is very closed off, very traditional, very conservative, or very decided on something before they've even gotten the data in front of them, you have to almost show them an example of something else in real life where it's working. Say, I know you're not open to this, but by the way, it's working here, 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 and here. Here's an article. Like, you'd have to give them some hard facts and say, before you say no, look at this. Because if you dismiss it without looking, then you're just not listening to me, and that's you're closing off opportunity. So there could be a challenge at work or in a key relationship where you're just trying to figure out how the two of you have some very similar energies, and it may be hard to find that middle ground that I was talking about here. But I see two strong trees on either side of that moon. So coming together and talking through fears and uncertainties is going to be important. Trying to help them get past the fear of change could also be important. When all else fails, show them the money. And if there is sort of financial benefit of trying something different, that could also win them over. For you, just the same cautions here of staying open-minded. You don't want to basically think that there's only one way to do any given thing, okay? All right, so in your outcome here, we have the Fool card. I mentioned earlier that there were a few necessary pieces before this. You have to go through the understanding, the judgment. You have to go through the World card, the expansion, the release, and then the Fool comes through. So I guess my question for you is, are you ready to take that sort of leap of faith? I hope you are. I think that there's a lot to be benefited by just putting yourself out there. But when I'm looking at all the cards in front of us, the challenge is to getting to the Fool for many of you, opening up your eyes or helping someone else see. There's that awakening that's happening with these two cards. So whether it's yourself or someone else, I see that as the key component. Then I see the emotion of fear and pretty much fear of change. But the good news is we see a lot of growth and a lot of potential. So that could win you or the other person over into seeing that. And I think the big thing for you is not to succumb to the pressure of success, to peer pressure, to your own fears of failing, to just really kind of putting it out there and saying, this is where I'm being led to go. And I trust my intuition. I'm going to give this a chance. Okay? So overall, Virgo, some really great energy. Let's take this to the next level and look at your expanded forecast. The expanded forecast includes health, wealth, love, and destiny. I'm just going to pour myself some water here, and then we're going to take a look at your health card. Health is going to include mind, body, and spirit. Everything that we're looking at today is basically multifaceted, but especially the health card, it's not always what's going on in your body. A lot of times it's what's the healthiest for you, and that could involve some emotional or some environmental changes. All right, so let's start with your health card. So really interesting here, the card is reversed, but let's look at it upright. If you look at this person, they're carrying or kind of like integrating with that tree. To me, the tree is indicative in your body of the spine, because basically that's one of our key sort of like, if there was a trunk kind of holding us up and things branching out from it, it would be the spine. So I really want you to pay close attention to your spinal health this month. So is your posture sort of off a bit because of the ergonomics of your desk? Have you been sleeping in a sort of odd way? Do you have any sort of pain that is possibly something due to an old injury? Just take a look at the whole, it's going to be your whole body. It'll be your upper neck here, upper back, your shoulders, all the way down to your tailbone, to your buttock, basically. That whole back area needs a little bit of TLC. So stretching, exercising, standard disclaimers apply with all of this, but talking to a doctor if you need to, because it's important for you to really make sure that's your core, that's what's holding you up, okay? And what we see on this one is someone deciding to take a little bit more control of that and hopefully finding that inner strength. It could just be a simple posture thing too. Have you ever noticed, like, there's some people, sometimes they're very tall too, but they tend to have posture like this. But when you just decide to kind of like straighten it out a little bit, all of a sudden you have more power, don't be afraid. Don't sort of like cower down or pull yourself in or kind of do things like this. Really focus on pulling your energy out. You're pushing your heart chakra out, because we really want to open that up. So I think there's a lot with posture that's coming through here as well. Let's go ahead now and take a look at all the cards here to see some additional messages here. Okay. So as we take a look at the cards on the table, one thing that I see here at the center, this can have to do with the importance of both like nutrition, and for any of you that are on any kind of medication, just making sure that all of that works together. A lot of times we see it as all or nothing, or sometimes the medical field goes strictly into medicine, but I would say it's a combination of medicine, your life choices, your diet, bringing all of that together, and also doing your homework on this. This is reading up on something too, but it's a sort of puzzle piece, not just one thing that's kind of causing some of the challenges in your life. There's a lot of smaller components to it as well. Whenever I see the Eight of Swords, I just remind folks to get their eyes checked, and to also pay attention to what you're seeing and feeling in the body. The Two of Swords and the Eight of Swords can be about ignoring something. So if you feel like you need help, go talk to a doctor. If there's something that you want to change, learn how to do it. This is how you overcome it. Someone asked me the other day in live chat, what's the opposite of fear, or how do you overcome it? I would say education gives you the knowledge and the trust and the faith to overcome that fear. So a lot of times you have to read up and educate yourself on that. The Moon card has to do with water in the body, a lot of times the reproductive systems. For those of you that might be trying to get pregnant, because we have the Six of Cups here, there could be some challenges there, so talk to a doctor on that. For the rest of us, this can be about hydration and also just the like the urinary tract and things like that. So if it's been a while since you've had that part of your anatomy checked out, this card is just encouraging you to do that. The good news here is we have a card of success when we're looking at self. So I do feel like you can get through it. The biggest thing for many of you is you've just been caught up in a lot of other stuff. Work could be pulling at your energy quite a bit, and it's going to be important for your work and finances, important for you to make some changes there. This is just a big shift in general. I forgot to mention that earlier, so we'll revisit that as I go into the expanded forecast. But Wheel of Fortune in reverse is just a life change and a cycle change and a decision to try something different. So if something wasn't working for you, talk to someone else about trying something else. Just keep an open mind. This is simply walking. And most doctors would agree that sort of walking would be good for you. But again, talk to your primary physician about that. But what I like about the Fool is taking the first step towards being healthier and happier. Overall, pretty good messages. Nothing really sort of grabbing my attention here. Just doing your research, I think, is going to be key, and feeling like you're fully educated on something before you step into the path ahead of you. All right. Looking now at wealth. This was like the original Three of Pentacles message that I had. Service card, but service in reverse. Let's just read the caption first. It says, I feel good when I help others. That's good. So some of you might be deciding to do something more in the path of medicine, maybe nonprofit, doing something where you can help. And I always approve of that. The only sort of cautionary note for this is those of you that have solely been working to only get other people's approval or to do everything for everyone else but yourself. It's saying you can't leave yourself out of that puzzle. So make sure that you're being recognized, supported, and that you're receiving as well. Not just in satisfaction, but enough abundance for yourself to be happy and secure, not just now, but in the future as well. You're overdue for recognition. The central card is all about recognition. So in both work and relationships, it's time for the other partner to see you for the full potential and the full power that you have. If you're in a job where they won't allow you to make decisions, shame on them, because Three of Pentacles and Queen of Wands here basically show me someone who can make very sound decisions. And you're probably overdue for that next bump or that next opportunity. If you're retired, this is really about how you want to use your time and energy. Some of you may just be doing a little bit of soul searching, whether you are job seeking or retired. This is sort of thinking like, I've always done this, now what? It can even be an empty nest syndrome that happens when like the children go away to college. So this is really encouraging you to look beyond what was and to go back into hopes and to do what makes you happy, not what you were pressured to do. Go back to what you liked as a kid, right? And again, with respect to wealth, one thing that is going to help you across the board is your contacts. So we see that bringing about sort of like the change and the new opportunities. So I like that. And there's a key partnership that's going to be important for many of you in your working career right now or your financial career. I just see a lot of similar energy and perhaps you two butting heads. So really focus on staying open, keeping them open, showing them a different way, and encouraging both of you just to kind of try something new. But I do see some of you might be ready for a change. And it's not necessarily like, uh-oh, this isn't the Tower. The Fool can just be a decision that I need to move on. I need to try something else. I see abundance and I see opportunity on the horizon for you. Remember, it can take up to 3 months based on the Three of Pentacles. So keep working on that. And remember that you deserve something back in return. It can't just be all give and nothing that you're giving, but you're not receiving. So I think that's the biggest piece that I'm seeing here. Okay, let's move along to relationships. Relationships, we have the snake, and it says it's time to heal. Let's look at it really close here. It looks like a rattlesnake, right? So snakes in general, they don't freak me out I wouldn't want to see one in real life, but when I see it in cards or spirit, it's basically power and awakening. It's also a shape shifter of sorts because it's going to get rid of its skin and become something else a little bit bigger. So I think as we're looking at relationships, are you growing? That's the main thing that I see here. And then the power dynamics between the two of you, and that makes a lot of sense with the King and the Queen of Wands, making sure that you're not kind of like going into attack mode, that you're staying open, that both of you can be strong and powerful. That's one of the messages here. As we look at the different types of relationships, I like to remind folks that there's 3 things that I like to look at. Those of you in love, or if you want to focus on a key relationship, those of you looking for love, those of you single and happy. We'll start with the love. And like I said, if you're not in a committed relationship right now, this could be the person that you think about the most. So at the center here, we see growth. I actually really like this in an existing relationship spread because what it's telling me is both partners are ready and willing to do the work. And it looks like one person's pretty keen on making sure that that happens. One person's a little bit more closed, but one person is really doing the work. So we want to see something as close to 50-50. So both people are bringing at least their best approach. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40 or 70-30, but it needs to go back towards the middle. And so balance of energy is the first thing. Also, recognizing the positive. Thank you for doing that. That really made me happy. That really helped. Or I really like it when you do this. Would you mind helping me with this? Your advice is always good on this. So praising, not just criticizing. And then also asking, did you like that I did that, or would you like me to do something else? You can always ask for feedback. It helps. It opens the door for communication. We see communication in the past, but what we're seeing now is more nonverbal. So re-accessing that sort of ability to just be open and communicative is going to be so important. Some of you have been possibly just really busy and stuck in things, and you've been missing the other partner. This is about just spending time together. This is the whole reason you got together, was the Six of Cups. What's trapping you is work, obligations, other people's drama, and looking at just the money or just the outcome, just the optics. The Six of Wands is an optic card, meaning that what other people see, and this is how they value what you're doing. So putting too much value in what other people think, it's the two of you that matter the most. And there's some stuff that needs to be talked about. If the other person walks out or walks away, that's not going to help. So just as long as communication stays open, I think it's good. There may be this sort of natural progression, especially if it's just a friendship, that you're going to move on. If the other person just isn't recognizing your growth, when we're going back to the snake sort of energy here, then it's time to progress. For those of you looking for love, you're kind of busy. I'm going to be honest with you. With the Three of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune card, your mind is not necessarily in relationships. It looks like it's in personal growth, career growth, money, and opportunities in your life. Also larger sort of like life goals and changes. Yes, it's a good month for finding a relationship. And yes, if you've been working hard to manifest, we have Six of Cups here, which would be soulmate energy, if you want to call it that, a really deep soul connection. So I like what I see, but I think that you could miss something if you're too busy sort of focusing on everything around you. You could miss what's right in front of you. There could be a water sign or a Scorpio coming into your life as well. I think the main thing here is I do see success. I think take it one step at a time. For those of you that are kind of getting into something new, the Fool card is very much a beginning relationship. It's not sort of like, even if you feel that sort of deep connection, you want to take it slowly so that you really get to know the other person, so that you don't scare them away. So a very Valentine's appropriate message with that. Easy does it. Don't go overboard, and don't freak out too much. I like what I'm seeing here. I see compatibility, but I think that your work schedule and maybe just your fear could be getting in the way. So easy does it. Same thing with the other person. They just may not be ready to take that leap just yet. If you're single and happy, good for you, because your primary energy is about work and personal development. This also works for those of you that are retired. I just see a lot of like productivity and inner growth happening, which is great. The other thing that's interesting here is that if you wanted to sort of do some training right now, Three of Pentacles could be going back to school, or it could be an apprenticeship. These two cards are about finding that mentor. The interesting thing is that you may realize, like I said earlier, in this journey, that you have a lot more skills and capacity than you knew you did. So you may not finish what you started, but you may get the sort of validation that you needed. Like, I got this. I'm just going to get started on something. So a lot of energy around work, and it's a really good month for you if you're single and happy. Okay, let's move along to your final card. This is your Destiny card in this particular spread, and it is the Shadow. So the Destiny card, as I read it, is malleable. So this is reversed, and we see many moons here coming through, starting off with almost what looks like an eclipse at the top here, and we're ending with a new moon. So this week, by the way, we have a full moon, and I'll probably do an impromptu soon. I was going to do one today, but I was reading for you, Virgo. So I think I'll do it on Wednesday, but TBD. We'll see how my schedule goes, because it's a busy week. So I'll try to throw in a reading this week around the new moon. We'll also look at self-love whenever I do that impromptu. So quick reminder while I'm talking about that to go ahead and subscribe and opt into notifications, hit that bell, and follow me on social media if you'd like to make sure that you don't miss that. All right, so with the Shadow card, we all have shadow elements to our person. So this can be something that we're afraid of. I recently read with the Wildwood Tarot, and it has a Guardian card, which is basically this big skeleton instead of the devil. And the Guardian is in front of a gateway, this sort of opportunity to pass to something else. So sometimes our own fears or uncertainty end up being the restricting piece. They're the shadow, they're the Guardian, they're the devil energy. So what you get to do this month is kind of move through that fear or that uncertainty. And in the spread, it feels like it happens pretty quickly here, because that's the moon card. We have many moons here. So you might have a few different things to work through. These are different decks, but we can also see the different moon phases on this card too. So what you are working through may take more than a month to finish and to kind of integrate all the lessons of the shadow. Could be fear. It's never going to happen. if you're looking for someone or something like a job. So relationships and jobs can sometimes eat away at our confidence. Don't think that way. Think, I'm going to find the right thing and I'm going to find it sooner than I think. It's not going to take as long as I thought it would take. And then if there's something that makes you feel the fear that you're not good enough or it's not going to happen, work on that. Don't work on the fact that things aren't showing up. They're not showing up because there's some internal stuff that's still needing to be worked out a little bit, okay? So really focus on pushing through that limitation, working on the shadow energy. You'll be pleasantly surprised by what you're doing, okay? All right, so we're going to now move along to something I call the big idea. The big idea is a single card that kind of acts as this canopy that brings together everything we talked about. The catalyst is something to keep us on the right track. And this one was just saying, trust in your own knowledge. You don't necessarily need someone else's approval. And now we're going to look at how you can get through that sort of shadowy energy and take the first step that we see with the Fool card. Okay, so this card has been making a lot of appearances. This time it's reversed, so this helps us in a way that showed up on the weekend, but a lot differently. So what we see here is Four of Swords. It looks like wind chimes. I talked about this on the weekend, and the reason that this card, I think it came up in the block area, so it's really interesting that it's coming up here to help us overcome the shadows. There is a nice consistency of messaging here. So action is necessary. The opposite of resting is taking action. The reason that the artist, I believe, created it this way is because you need the energy of air to make change happen here for you to hear something, right? So if the wind chimes aren't moving, it's because no one's speaking, no one's acting, no one's moving it forward. It's the silent treatment, right? Or inaction or inactivity. So in order to move through the shadow energy, you have to take that mantle that we saw with the Queen of Swords and decide, like, yes, I'm going to speak. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a little bit of noise. You're going to look at areas of your life where you haven't seen movement and move things yourself. And any movement is better than none, is what we see with this. And that's going to kind of help you clear things out and open things up and allow for healing. You push a little bit more and you easily get to the Six of Swords, which is a much higher version of this. Four of Swords is inaction and silence and the silent treatment and letting things just kind of fade away. Six of Swords is actively moving toward a new outcome, letting go and saying goodbye or saying, this doesn't work for me. So I would say for you, actively moving in that direction is going to be important, and that's going to help you. So also, wind chimes sound nice, right? For those of you that have them. So if you use the right kind of communication, it's going to be received in a positive way. Keep it constructive, keep it kind, keep it real, keep it honest, and you'll start the action happening for you. And that's going to help, all right? But inaction isn't going to work this month with the shadow. You have to sort of decide, I'm going to do this, all right? So really nice and clear, big idea card. Always appreciate that. Just to kind of like ground you on where we're at. We just went through Channeled Messages, the Celtic Cross, and the Expanded Forecast, and the big idea. So we're right at the midpoint here. This is a fun part. We're going to look at blessings and blocks. Then we're going to look at a viewer's choice where you get to vote on something, and then a reader's choice where I choose something. So we'll start first with blessings and blocks. To me, this is pretty self-explanatory. These are things that you can really look forward to and embrace. There might also be some things that you want to avoid. So let's go ahead and give the cards a shuffle and see what's coming through. Yeah, and for those of you who haven't watched my weekend collective, you should. It applies to everybody. We're only one day into the week. It's Sunday to Sunday, so it's a 7-day forecast plus a special topic. So definitely check it out. I do it every Sunday. All right, blessing and block. Cool. All right, so let's take a kind of like more close-up look at this. So in the blessing space, we have the Two of Wands missing. That was the card that I was saying I really needed to put in the slideshow that I did earlier for the channel messages. So this is what allows you to be the manifester, basically. So Two of Wands, your blessing this month is you're closer than you think. You just need the reflection period that I talked about. So you might just be looking in the wrong direction. You might be also distracted. And instead of looking over here, you need to look over here. So the blessing is once you focus and make the time, it really becomes clear to you what the next step is. So there's a bit of an instruction or a caveat with your blessing, which is it's time to refocus, it's time to redirect, it's time to take down some of the distractions, and then things just really start to go into the right direction for you, okay? Let's go to your block. So for your block here, we have the Nine of Cups in reverse. I love Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups can be a card of enthusiasm, of positivity, of passion, really propelling you into the right direction. When it's reversed, the emphasis goes on the weeping portion of the weeping willow, which can be sort of like way too enthusiastic or way too sad. So we want to make sure that we're not overdoing the extremes of this and not getting sort of feeling like we're lost in the shuffle here. So I like that we see the person sort of submerged in the water energy here. This can also, there's a card in the Light Seers deck where in the Moon deck, we see a woman underneath the water, kind of reaching for the surface. So what can happen with Nine of Cups in reverse is sort of that, where it's like, oh my gosh, I feel overwhelmed. What am I going to do? The overwhelmed piece can be positive or negative. It could be like, I'm overwhelmed with joy, but I can't focus. I'm overwhelmed with fear, so I'm afraid to take the first step. I'm overwhelmed with information, so I don't know what to start first. This is the one sort of energy here where I think it does help you to go towards that mentor and just get a reality check when that happens, because it looks like it's an overwhelmingly good thing for the most part with the Nine of Cups. So it could just be that you are taking a lot in and you're a little bit nervous, so don't be nervous, okay? So there you go. All right, so by the way, thanks to all of you that are members and have been here for a while. I see some folks that are celebrating some milestones, so I appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead now and take a look at the viewers and readers choice. This is going to be, again, two parts here. I'm going to start by selecting some topics that I think you would enjoy, and then I'm going to pick one that I think we have to look at no matter what. So let me get the cards pushed up here just a little bit so I can type. For those of you that are watching live, you'll be able to vote as long as you're on a computer or a mobile device. TV and consoles don't work. And also, yeah, basically you need to be able to see the chat for it to work. So if you can't do it, don't worry. I know sometimes people have a challenge with it, but if you can, hopefully you'll enjoy the options that I put out here. So we're going to look at viewer's choice. And as I'm looking at the table here, let's see some things that you can focus on. So I'm gonna use the viewers or the reader's choice. I'm gonna look at the shadow energy a little bit more. But as we're looking at some other things here for you, I want to help you reclaim your power with the Three of Pentacles. So reclaim power and resources. Three of Pentacles. All right. The next thing that I'd like to help you with is releasing the sort of spider web here, that energy of other people's stuff. So releasing drama, trauma, I'm just going to say drama from others. And finally, let's see here what looks good. You know, the Six of Wands in reverse is definitely something that I'd like to look at. So knowing how to push back on, like, it's really external pressure. So I'm going to look at pushing back on peer pressure and expectations. And there you go. So you have a chance to vote on those. While you're voting on those, I'm going to focus. Let me just look one more time and make sure that I want to do that one. You know what? I'm going to, because it's Valentine's Day, I'm just going to pull an extra card on partnerships for today and see what the universe wants to kind of show for us. All right, so in honor of this not so official holiday, but let's just sort of look at, because Six of Cups came here and we saw that there could be some stubborn energy. So let's just take a look at partnerships this month. Four of Cups. All right, let's take a look at this close up while you're all voting. All right, so for many of you, you could be wondering, where do I stand in relation to other people? And I think this is a really appropriate card for Valentine's Day. One thing that I wanted to stress, and one thing that I would be doing if this was solely a love reading, would be about personal growth and unconditional love in your relationships and in your life. I think that's what we should be focusing on, right? So it's not always effective to compare oneself to others. and because there's a lot of facades that people put up. I also feel like there's a hidden opportunity for love and happiness here. So with the Four of Cups, someone's interested in what you have to offer. What do you want? I think being not just discerning, but decisive is going to be the big challenge for you in relationships. I am looking for XYZ. I don't like this, or I do like this. And if you are the kind that usually likes other people to sort of make the decisions, you're being pushed to just be a little bit more decisive. This is really important when we couple it with the Two of Wands. So when you know what you want, then the universe knows how and when to kind of give it to you. When you don't, it's sort of like just throwing some options, or that old phrase, pasta on the wall to see what sticks. It's not as effective. So being decisive is key. The grass is not always greener, so really look at who you're with and where you're at and how far you've come to get there, and make sure that you're not making a knee-jerk reaction before making a change. All right, let's see what is in the lead when it comes to the choices that you guys are making. So let's see where you're at. And okay, so it looks like right now it is reclaim power and resources by a long shot. You all are ready to get into the know and into the power when it comes to your money. So I like that. All right, so let me just make sure that that one wins. There's no final surprise here in the last minute. Yeah, it's by 61%, reclaiming power and resources. All right, so let's take a look and see what's coming through for power and resources. All right, so we have the Page of Wands. Let's look at this card really up close here. This is someone who seems to really be trying to get attention. The page was reversed. So for some of you, what I would say here is, if you are constantly meeting a sort of blockade, let's say someone in your life keeps saying no to your request for resources, for support, for any of those things, then what I think you might be looking in the wrong place. And so one of the things that I would say to reclaim your power and resources is to look elsewhere. So it's not just about, there's not just one channel to get an approval. Think of this as a loan. So let's imagine you're trying to buy a house or you're trying to buy a car. There are different places where you can get that loan. You can get the loan from the manufacturer sometimes. You can get it from a bank or a trust, or there's like a lot of different places that could kind of issue that loan. You don't have to go to just one person. So for some of you, the person that you're going to isn't receptive or isn't imaginative enough, and you want to keep your imagination and keep your sort of your out of the box thinking. Don't lose that piece of yourself. And to me, this page is sort of looking for the Two of Wands person, and together they have the Three of Wands. So what I'm seeing here is you have most of the idea together. You might just need someone that has the vision to kind of execute on it. So I used to work in studio work, so there would be like a director and a producer, and then there would be creative people as well. The director had the vision. That would be the Two of Wands. The producer was the one that actually connected everybody to make this happen, right? They were the true sort of like heart and soul and core of the thing. And then there's a lot of other people with this. So I feel like you might have the vision and you might need the producer. You might need someone there to actually bring it all together. So if you need that, it could be hiring some assistants. It could be going to an agency to get some assistance if you're trying to find work. There's a connective thread there for you. The other thing is you can do this yourself. You are the sort of captain. You are the producer. You are the boss. So my question to you is, if you're constantly going and working with or for other people, have you ever thought of doing something more on your own, more for yourself? And if it is about money or a project or something like that, there might just be this chance to really take the mantle. A lot of leadership coming through for you this month, a lot of taking the lead. But you don't have to do it all alone. So leadership doesn't mean like you're isolated. What we see here is disparate pieces coming together under the mantle of your leadership. So maybe bringing together a core team, bringing together some sort of big picture, but you're the glue that brings this ace together, this hidden ace in the Three of Pentacles. Okay? So I really hope you can see your leadership potential. When you believe it and when you really sell it like that to other people, they can't help but being interested in investing in your time, energy, and services. Okay, I hope that helps. Good question, really cool sort of card that came through for that as well. Another thing with page, any sort of page card, when it's reversed, it sometimes is about integrating and listening. So the Page of Wands in reverse can also be about saying, I'm open to looking at it from this perspective. I'm open to hearing and seeing it from this perspective. It's interesting. Most of your central cards were upright. Most of your not expanded cards, but when I'm looking at these special cards that I look at in the second portion, they're reversed. So to me, there's this internal sort of questioning that almost takes away some of your power and potential. So I want you just to kind of really believe in that Two of Wands vision that you have so that you can just forge forward to the next phase, because it's already opened up for you. You just have to kind of believe in that. All right, so just to kind of remind you of where we're at and what's next, we've gone through really most of the reading here. We have one portion left, and probably my favorite part here at the end with the final card. So let's talk about that before I get into it. At the very end, I like to allow you to ask a silent question. So you can write this down on a piece of paper if you want to, and just hold it as we meditate, and then I will answer your own sort of private question. Since I don't take like 100 or 200 or 300 live, this is a lot more effective at kind of being able to be there for you. So everyone focus on what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to get through, and after the meditation, I'll read it. For the meditation, I think today, as we're looking at all of these cards here, I'd really love you to be able to sort of take the first step. So that Fool card is coming through pretty bright, but we got to work through the shadow first. So I think what we're going to do is watch basically a new day, dawn. We'll do a dawn sort of meditation where you're walking out of the forest and walking towards this clearing where you're watching the sunrise. So that's what I kind of see in my mind as we're getting ready here. Before we do this 1 minute meditation, I want to kind of give you a chance to vote on the instrument that I'll play for the sound bath, and then we'll get into it. All right, so which instrument? I have a singing bowl, and I have a crystal pyramid. So there you go. You can vote at your leisure. We're going to set up the meditation, and then I'll answer your final question. All right. So as we're getting set up in this, I just want to remind you that we will come back at the end to do that final card. So keep that question in mind. All right. Get comfortably seated. Close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath. On the exhale, feel this sense of relief. If there was anything heavy, I actually felt the relief as I did that. If there's anything heavy, anyone that's kind of heavy on your mind, just breathe them out. Let them go. There was a song in, was it South Pacific or something, where this lady was washing someone out of their hair. We can breathe someone out of our body too. You keep that sort of energy in that spider web of your auric field. So as you're breathing, imagine that you're kind of shaking away all those cobwebs, getting rid of any of the sort of lower frequencies, really feeling that positive sort of invigoration of oxygenation of your blood. All right, close your eyes. Imagine that you are walking just in the final steps of this path leading out of a forest. Take a pause and look at the forest behind you. Maybe it's fairly dark except for some fireflies, except for maybe if there was a light or two along the path, but otherwise it was pretty dark. And in the sort of darkness of the forest, there are some of the shades or shadows of our past, fear or anxiety, people that have been on our mind, people that have wronged us. And maybe you can see the figures or silhouettes of these people at the edge of the forest. There is this sort of beautiful boundary between you and the forest, these lovely quartz crystals across which the shadows can't sort of embark. So you can stand and look at the shadows, but they can't come through. And from the safety of this vista, behind you, you can feel the rising sun. And the interesting thing is you notice that one of the shadows was your own because the sun is showing that sort of shadow. The rest of the shadows start to disappear. Things that you thought you were afraid of were really just a shadow of perhaps a tree that was casting some sort of strange shape on the path. It could have been a figment of your imagination. It could have been actually someone or something that had been kind of like taking up occupancy in your mind. But as the sun shines on that person, place, or thing, its true form is revealed. Even the ones in our life that we feel were darkest or cruelest or meanest, there is a core of light to them. And as light workers, we recognize that. And what we do is bless them and release them. So imagine that as you bless and release these shadows of the past, you actually see something completely unexpected happen. The blessing, the I wish you love and light, I wish you happiness, I release you, allows for them to grow brighter. Some of them turn from shadows into light. Some of them just shimmer a little bit and they realize that they're not all shadow and they just needed a little bit of love and a little bit of redirection to shape, shift, and to become something different. So you're leaving the situation better than it was when you started. And with that in mind, you can turn your attention to the rising sun in front of you. As it shines on your face, your heart, your throat, it opens up the key part of you, and you're now allowed to shine and be all that you thought you could be. So sit with this knowledge and with this decision that you are powerful, that you are stronger, brighter, and lighter, and that you're not going to worry about other people's limitations anymore. That's their thing, that's their drama, and that we're just going to focus on celebrating your light. So continue to do that as I play the singing bowl, and then we will take a look at your final card. Take a deep breath, exhale, see yourself walking towards the ocean or the beach. Now the sun is fully overhead. If you were to look at your body, you would see a luminous being on the beach as well, capable of putting its mind to whatever it wants to. You have that Midas touch. You have reclaimed your power, reclaimed your light. And let's take a look now at whatever question you might have for me. We're going to focus now on your final card. Simply hold this idea or this question in your mind, and let's see what Spirit wants to say with respect to that. Six of Swords, perfect. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier about deciding to move on. So it feels like even over the course of this reading, many of you have moved from the sort of passive energy of the Four of Swords to the active energy of the Six of Swords. And by doing that, that's the sort of gateway or portal in the future here. A lot of times the hardest thing for making a change happen in your life is saying goodbye to the past. Sometimes it's nostalgia. Sometimes it's just the safety net of feeling like it's predictable. We actually get the sense of the mourning here, but the fact that these are almost like two hands reaching out and saying you're going to be okay. You're being guided towards something better. So a couple of notes with the Six of Swords. As a yes, no, it's telling me things take time. And for many of you, the mourning or the peace of mind takes a little bit of time, but it's happening. In order to achieve a goal, there may be a move that's necessary or traveling that's necessary. There's definitely a need for you to go outside of what's expected. So look in different locations. Look at also, we have a lot of 6 cards here. That could mean like the 6th month of the year. So June, June period for many of you. 6 weeks could be a month and a half for some of you too. Depends on how quickly you manifest. But I see a movement period. Remembering at the beginning, before we pulled any cards, I saw 3 months of rapid change. So again, March, April, May, June then would lead you into that period of kind of going into the new thing, whatever it is. So I definitely see the next half year being pivotal. Lots of changes, some travel for some of you. And for some of you, there is an acknowledgement or a push to move on. So if you're wondering, should I stay? This card is saying you should probably consider going if it's like a relationship where you feel like it's sort of like worked itself out, or if it's a job and you're long in the tooth there, or if there's a question of, should I move for this? This card seems to encourage you to at least do the research and give it a good thought. But yes, it looks like movement is key to success and to happiness. Okay? Powerful messages and a really nice card to end on today. So before I wrap up, just a couple of quick notes. If you did just join, I like to remind folks, sorry I have to say this, but it is important to channel growth, and I've seen fewer people do it, so I have to remind people more. Please hit subscribe if you've been a long-time viewer. It's free, and it helps me do more of these videos. Hit the thumbs up. I see we have a decent amount of folks that have done it already, about 241. So thank you. That's more than half. I always appreciate that, and that helps this get served up. And if you watch on replay, you can also comment in the video. That helps as well. If you'd like to show a little bit of support right now, you can do it with Super Chats and Super Stickers. I'll say thank you at the end. Super Thanks is available on replay. Also, if you want to follow me on social media for reminders, here's all of my information. It's also in the pinned comment, and my schedule's on my website. All right, now for one of my favorite parts, we're just going to say thanks here at the end. I'd like to start off with gratitude for anybody that's brand new. I hope you enjoyed today's reading. I hope you show up again. As I said, every Sunday I do a general reading for everybody, and I do impromptu ones. I'll be doing a surprise one this week, so if you subscribe, you'll be able to see that. I'd like to thank the people that have been with me for over 7 years. I appreciate all of your love and support as I've continued to try new things. You've been patient, you've been supportive, and that means a lot. If you happen to be a contributing member or Patreon supporter, thank you for allowing me to really make this my job. I do depend on support from all of you. Otherwise, I have to get a job somewhere else. So thank you for allowing me to do this. It definitely makes it all possible. And for everyone today that either joined or gave back, now I'm going to say welcome and thanks. So give me a second here. I'm going to put my glasses on and just call out those of you that gave back a little bit today. All right. So let's take a quick look-see and see what's going on here. All right, first I'm going to say thanks to any new members that I noticed joined within the last 24 hours or so. So let's go to memberships. All right, so right at the top here, we have a brand new member, Regina. And let's see, is it Altvager? I think it is. Thank you so much, Regina. Welcome. And then we have KIK rejoining after 6 months. Thank you so much. We have Elvira Mai also rejoining after about 4 months. And then everyone else I remember saying yesterday, because I remember the name Joy 2018. So anyway, thanks to all the folks that are brand new members or just rejoined. Appreciate that. And I hope you enjoy being a member. Thank you. All right, for the Super Stickers and Super Chats today, just let me get this loaded up and we'll say thanks here to everybody. Starting off with Michelle DePoy, thanks for kicking things off this morning. A really nice donation too from both you and from Monica Haynes as well. Two $50 ones in a row. I appreciate that. And again, that'll help me get some new decks, so I appreciate that. And thanks, Michelle. I know you're going to watch this on replay, so enjoy it later. And again, thanks to Monica for that really nice donation. AB, good to see you. I see you all the time. Thank you for consistently showing up. Beth Ann Shannon, appreciate it. Thanks for all the lucky twos there. Alice Felice, again, I recognize your name as well, so thanks for showing up here. And Tracy Lynn, thank you for wrapping up everything here, and I hope that you enjoyed what you saw. So let me see if I missed anybody. C. Megan 72, thanks for that as well. And I think I've got everyone. Oh, Just Finding Me 7, thank you as well. And I saw Isha, yours somehow got lost in the shuffle there, but thank you as well for that as well. Okay, hopefully I got everyone. Special thanks to the members. It looks like Just Finding Me 7, 10 months, and Michelle Miller 4 months. So happy anniversary, and Elvira May, brand new, like I said. So cool to have some new folks and some anniversaries as well. I hope I caught everyone. If not, I know Maria is really good at acknowledging it, and I look at all of this once it's on replay. So much gratitude. A reminder, I just put up the links for this upcoming week. So the next few readings that I'll be looking at are Libra and Scorpio on Thursday and Friday, respectively. You can see those links on my website. And then, of course, I'll be back next weekend for the collective. All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Thanks for making today a great day. And until I see you again, have a great one, okay? Bye-bye.